everyone. Let me start with just one question. Is there anybody here in the room who has written an open source library or application and published it somewhere out there? Yes, a few of you. That's great. My name is Karolina Surma, and I come from downstream. I'm a Fedora maintainer. That means that I've seen hundreds of Python projects, and I've rebuilt thousands of those. As you can imagine, the sheer scale of what I just said means that I may be not that knowledgeable about what your library is doing, but more how it is doing the things it does. And I think, like with this unidirectional metaphor, upstream, downstream, you may not even know that there are people out there handling your libraries en masse and doing weird things to it. So I wanted to use this opportunity to shed some light into what is it that we are doing, what we are happy to see, what we are not happy to see. And you know, isn't it funny that your work is basically a prerequisite for my job? And then if we ever interact, it's in your issue trackers or repositories. And you know, I think that's just there's a communication gap that we could, you know, totally bridge here. So just a few questions to ponder quietly. I will not ask you to raise your hands. Do you have any idea where your project is packaged? I assume that if you have releases of your project, then probably you send them to PyPI. But other than that, is it anywhere else? Who packages it? Who are those people? Do you know them? Are you those people who package somewhere else, Conda, Linux distribution, something like that? Do you know what the needs of those people are? Do you have like the slightest idea? Have you asked them? Do you even care? And frankly, if the answer to the last question is no, why would I? I would not be offended. Like, the project authors, maintainers are mostly volunteers, and it's not my place to come and require you to do changes to your projects. You have the full autonomy. But if you wanted to know what is our perspective, I want to present and offer it to you as a gift. So why would I like you to care? Well, of course, I am one of those people, so when we cooperate, that makes my life easier, and that's very much something I like. But not only that. In Fedora, we have this idea that we want to be a distribution that's very much at the forefront of the ecosystem. So we integrate libraries very early. We already are at Python 3.14 as the main Python. That's the one that will be released in October this year. So I've been testing for the last 8 months every new alpha Python version, and I could notify you of the issues in your library months before you are even aware that there will be some. I can even send you fixes. So you never have to care about it. You will get as early heads up as possible if you care about that. If you don't, then that's not a problem. So with caring a little bit about downstream, you can have comprehensive testing, early testing. We package libraries to different architectures. So you have a wider span. You know that your software has been battle tested. And with different sets of dependencies, not only those you have declared. With the wider availability of your software, when it's possible to install it as via system means, for example, your user base can increase also. So with you solved some problems with code, and then people can solve their problems with your code too. So there are stars, forks, fame, contributions, maybe contributors to your project. So generally, wider availability means more benefits, I hope. I use words like library or project here, so let me increase clarity one step above. What I care about is the artifacts you release as a Fedora maintainer, and namely source distribution. I'm mostly interested in your SDists, not even wheels. So whenever you release that snapshot of your repository, I'm looking forward to it. I unpack it, look inside, and sometimes I have to change some things. Sometimes I'm very happy with what's there. You'll learn in a moment what are the things that makes us happy and not so much. We love seeing standards. Looking at hundreds of packages, looking how they are packaged. If you have PyProject on setup CFG, whatever is standardized, the more following the PEPs, applicable PEPs it is, the better. The same goes with build backends. With PEPs, the build backend PEPs 517 and 518, there has been an explosion of build backends in the world, and fellow package maintainers tell us that suddenly, every time they want to package something new to Fedora, they also have to package the build backend and its dependencies, and it's not that fun anymore. So just because you can, feel free to write your own build backend, and don't use it in your project. Pick one that already exists, please. And as you probably know, but I have to underline the thing. If you are authors of open source projects, please license them. And when you do license them, also include the license files into your project if the license requires that. If you don't do that, and we try to package your library downstream, you are guaranteed that will pop up in your issue tracker and ask for that. One other thing we really love are tests. When we grab your release and we repack it and do shenanigans in order to put them into this other format you don't care about that much, we want to make sure that with all this transformation, your library is still working. And every time we integrate something new, like a very widely popular library like setup tools, like Sphinx, like pip, CPython interpreter, we want to make sure that your project is still handling everything well. And if not, we can send you a fix or some heads up. So there are two parts to the testing. How we test in Fedora when we build your libraries as RPM. We care vastly about unit tests, because this is what gives us this basic perspective into whether your software works or not. If you have regression tests, end-to-end tests, comprehensive container spawning, network, whatever tests, that's great. But for our usage, it's not necessary. We don't need that. Our build environment cannot look at the internet. And we don't care that much about the prettifiers, like linters, like type checkers, coverage, benchmarks, and so on. Those are very important to maintain the code quality, to make the contribution to your project nicer. But at the point when we are integrating the library into the system, we mostly care about the functions. And with that, there comes some. When I integrate a library and some tests fail, I want to reproduce that failure on your own code without, outside of my environment, my very specific environment. I want to be able to reproduce it, give this reproducer to you, and you can do whatever is needed, or I can bring more friends to the issue tracker and try to figure it out, and maybe we can fix it. So the most important thing when handling packages at scale, which is something I do, is the easiness of running the tests. Ideally, if I can just git clone your project and run tox, and this was an advertisement, but let me repeat it, and run tox. We love tox. Tox is a great test runner. If you don't use it, maybe take a look. It takes care of installing your project, installing the dependencies, virtual environments, everything. I don't have to do anything. I just clone the project and run talks. With that, I care how the tests are organized, how easy it is for me to install the testing dependencies, and how do I run the unit tests. If it's not defined in talks, if it's defined in any other way, make sure you document that so that it's easy to repeat. We all know that we should test the business logic. Sometimes that's not the case. During the integration of Python 3.14, I've seen a lot of tests which were testing the output of argparse help character by character. And so it happens that argparse output has changed in Python 3.14, and those tests started failing in our environment. And there are good test failures that indicate serious problems, and there are test failures like that. Does it uncover a real problem? If you're not developing a plugin to argparse module, probably not. So it's worth thinking, what's the value of tests doing that? Or comparing the HTML pages generated by Sphinx. If you are not developing a Sphinx plugin, this is also something that's very fragile, and it tends to change with every Sphinx release. Another example of such tests, and we've seen quite a lot of them this year, are the tests counting number of warnings emitted during the test run. And when you change a dependency to a different version than the one that's defined or counted within upstream, the number just doesn't make sense. Python 3.14 came with a huge set of deprecation warnings, and all those tests failed without any real value to anybody. So we just ignore them. And as to ignoring the tests, the tests that you write may have some constraints. They may run on specific OSs, on specific platforms, architectures. They may need internet. They may use some optional dependencies, system dependencies that are not always available. It's super great if you can conditionally skip those tests, ideally in a way that that will be self-discoverable. So if that test requires Windows, and you detect that we are not on Windows, just let's skip it. With internet, it's a little bit more trickier, but for example, PyTest has got the possibility to define a custom marker, and then we can filter it out with a very small, simple command. Also, maybe if your unit tests need internet, maybe it's worth researching into some mocking library that will cut off the need to go and look for resources somewhere else. So I'm looking always for the possibility to filter out what's not applicable for my environment. And when defining, it's a little bit coming back to pretty fires and coverage. When you define the testing extras, you need to somehow define the dependencies that are just for testing. If there was a single thing that would significantly increase my life quality, that would be splitting the extras, testing extras to core ones, like just PyTest and the important packages to run your tests, and another extra with linters, coverage, benchmarks, and everything. So I could just take the core dependencies and don't have to patch out Flake 8, PyLint, RAF, MyPy, and everything. That would be that single thing would really increase my life quality. No pressure. Another thing that is so hard, you probably hardly ever know, because we don't come and complain to your issue trackers about that. That's our problem, and we deal with that silently. It's not only about dependency version pinning. It's about the upper bounds that are sometimes set way too aggressively. So there are two things here. One is requires Python. There is a keyword in your metadata that tells what Python your software works with. And it's perfectly okay to set the lower bound because you use some syntax that was introduced in a specific Python version. But please do not cap it from the upper side. The only effect it's got is that it prevents us from testing with the new Python as it is released. It doesn't bring you really any value. And there is a case of the other dependencies. Like, you may know that a certain released version of a certain library 100% sure breaks your project and you don't support it for now. Then it's totally okay to just pin the version. But many times, the upper version bounds refer to a hypothetical future release of a software that's not even there, and it just prevents from testing with that version as soon as it's released. So your CI will never catch it, you will never know. We will have to unpin it in our own environment, because there's the thing. With PyPI and pip or UV resolvers, there's multiple versions of the same software available. So pip or UV can do this magic and find out the combination of libraries that will match your exact environment. In Fedora, and not only Fedora, but we've got this policy of single version per library. So we are much more constrained about the versions. We just build with whatever is available. It would help us greatly, if we didn't have to unpin the dependencies like that with your projects. Those patches tend to age quite ugly, because as your software gets released with the newer versions and newer pins, the strings don't match anymore. So those are the patches that we just have to somehow tweak with every other release. And we don't report it back because, like, why would you care? But if you really don't have to, maybe consider not doing that at all. This is like non-exhaustive list, and I don't want to create an impression that I want you to go and change your projects some way. We're generally happy to come to your repository and ask for the changes and bring the changes as patches. Which brings me to a question: how easy is it to contribute? I am a highly motivated contributor, and when I want your software to support a new version of another library or somehow work a little bit better, I can battle requirements about specific commit format, news entry, typing check, coverage check, linters, pre-commit hooks. I can do whatever it takes to send that fix to your repository. I think for some projects, it may be really scary to go through the checklist, especially if it's not possible to run all of those checks that will run on the CI locally. So in many cases, it looks like that I write a fix, then I send it up, push the commit, the CI somehow fails, I fix it, commit again, push again, it's read in a different place, so I fix it, I push again, it's read, but in another place. It's scary, especially if you are just a volunteer maintainer and you want to help somebody. So I think there can be a sweet spot between finding a place to maintain your desired code quality and not being too intimidating. I don't know where that sweet spot is, but maybe be mindful about that. And another thing is issue trackers. There are issue templates, and when I integrate new Python, I have so many doubts. Like, is this a bug report? This is going to be a bug in half a year. Is this a feature request? Not really. Is this a crash? I guess no. So leave this possibility to open a blank issue for all those weird questions people have, not only my case, but probably there are more. It greatly helps. And when talking about contributing, there's another side to it. And that's how you contribute to your own project. By the nature of our work, sometimes we have to backport fixes. Sometimes we cannot update just now to the newly released version. Sometimes the version is not yet released, but we, for whatever reason, need the bug fix applied on top of our copy of your library. And if you have a bug fix squashed with maybe the change of the project structure to SRC type, like the structure, or maybe you just decided that double quotation marks are better than single quotation marks, that makes it extremely hard for us to just pick the desired change and apply it. So that's my very nice plea. No requirement. That helps us a lot. And maybe last bit controversial topic for some. Many people don't tend to react to deprecation warnings. We see it a lot. Removal is what triggers action. And just let me say this. If you have a piece of code that's secure, there's no security vulnerability in there. The code has been sitting there for years. It's been tested, battle tested. People are using it. And it's ugly and you don't love it. And you have this new, beautiful API to replace that old one. And that old one is perfectly fine. It's just like you're unhappy every time you see it, but that's just, it can see there effortless and costless. Maybe deprecate it and never remove it. Just imagine those dozens of other people who rely on that ugly, unlovable API and their busy work, sending these commits to each and every project, just doing find and replace on that removed API. Maybe it just doesn't even out. Again, just a nice plea. You're free to do whatever you need. With all that, you are the expert in your core domain. When you write code, you want to solve problems, you know how to brew your software. As downstream maintainers, we are this weird animal knowing more about how to make this project more portable. We can make it more bulletproof. We can help you tighten the bolts. So I'd like to finish this few minutes with you, asking you to don't be afraid to utilize our expertise whenever we pop up in your issue tracker. Thank you.
Okay, so we have plenty of stuff here, I think. So we have 5 minutes, 6 minutes. I don't see any question on Discord, but yeah, please, if you have a question, just approach the microphone, you can speak.
Thank you for this magnificent presentation. It really shows how to actually work with the community on the extension, right? So I have two questions. First one, those graphics, you did it yourself, or Stable Diffusion, or?
No, it's Canva.
Oh, nice. And the second question, I'm wondering, you told about putting a limit on a upper Python version, right? So I can imagine a situation that I would like, in my extension, I would actually like to put the upper limit because when the new Python comes out, I'm not sure if it would work. And it might not necessarily be my fault. It might be a fault of some of my dependencies, which also needs to work. Could you could you tell us something about this? What's your thoughts about adjusting, like putting upper limit in a situation that I'm afraid that my extension wouldn't work?
So I was talking about the keyword in the metadata in PyProject TOML, which actually prevents us from even trying to build it. If you don't put the upper bound on the Python version, that doesn't mean that your CI will pick up the new Python version when it's out. So you can still test on whatever is totally supported by you. And it also allows us to seamlessly take your software and try building it in our environment with our pre-built dependencies of your project. We can also bring then the feedback and tell you, oh, your library will not work. We will not bring you this nice feedback, oh, your library will definitely work. And I think that's a sad thing, that's the sad part of the work. But you putting pin on the Python version does not help neither you nor us.
Hi. You are talking about libraries, but libraries are still just another code, so it's simple. And what about your suggestions about applications? They need icons, metadata, files, and etc., etc.
Yes, I focus on libraries. Applications is a completely different topic. We have some applications in Fedora. We somehow handle it as it goes, as it is. We can talk, if you have a specific one in mind, we can talk about it later, because it's too broad to even tackle here.
Hey, so also based on what others asked and what you spoke about, I think there's a fundamental difference in we want to test something with a new Python version and the upstreams are making it harder for us because they pin it, versus the users will install this with a new Python version and then it will eat their computers and destroy their data, so we can't support it, so we are cautious and we don't allow it. So I would say that we are desperately in need of some mechanics that will tell, if you are Fedora or people like Fedora who like to experiment and then do the bleeding edge stuff, here are my dependencies without the pins. And if you are the user who runs this in a bank, please, here are the pins and never try it with anything else. And I think you like making PEPs and creating new standards for a couple of years in a row and stuff like that. Maybe this is something you might work on. There would be two sets of dependencies, like the dangerous ones for you and the safe ones for the safe people who are not crazy like us. And I have another question. What is Canva? Because I think we don't know. Canva, sorry. I have no idea what it is.
Yeah. So regarding your first question, that's an interesting idea for people who like writing PEPs. Definitely. And Canva is a web service that provides templates, the graphics to create your presentations and any other kind of graphics for people who have absolutely no idea how to combine colors and the shapes. It's very easy to use.
Okay, so I have a really beginner question, and that is, what is an Estes and how do I send one to you? When I create a library, I usually create a new repo on GitHub, and then I upload it to GitHub, and if I'm feeling really adventurous, I put it on pypy.org, but I have no idea. I've never created an Estes before. I didn't even think I've ever seen that file before. Well, I'm pretty sure I have seen it before, but I really don't know anything about Estes. And do you have an estes@redhat.com that I should send the Estes files to?
Okay, come to Brett's keynote tomorrow morning. There are typically two artifacts created when you try to build your package with the following the standards. When you want to publish it on PyPI, you will use probably a standard package like build, and when you just invoke build, it will create two artifacts for you. One is the tar archive, source distribution as this, and another one is wheel, which is just zip named a bit differently. Both of the artifacts are then uploaded to PyPI. So it's basically opaque for you. We will just grab whatever we need.
So I think we are up for time. So let's thank Karolina again, because the discussion was very lengthy, so you can approach her in the conference as well. Thanks again, everybody.